from the GNU Linux Users Group NIT Durgapur. We're excited to introduce HackMe, a two-session event where we'll guide you in building a Python reminder application for tracking events like hackathons and contests. You do get emails, right, for reminders of events. So we're going to explore the process behind how the event data is taken from different websites and how the emails are sent to the clients. So in our project, we will send emails of hackathons from DevFolio and contests from Codeforces platform. The data extracting methods from both the platforms will be different so that you all can comfortably use the two concepts for extracting data from any other website that you all like. And also you all can use these concepts in your future projects. Now see, there are many ways to extract information from the internet. API fetching is a structured way and web scraping is an unstructured way. What is API? What is web scraping? Don't worry about that because we're going to be covering it later on. Now let us look at the project architecture. As I said, the contest data will be taken from the Codeforces platform and the hackathon data will be taken from the DevFolio platform. So for Codeforces, we are going to be using the Codeforces API, and from the DevFolio, we are going to be using web scraping. Now, when I say data, I mean by the event name, by the event duration, the event start time, etc. Now, after extracting this data, we are going to be using Python's built-in libraries for sending mails. So you can take the input of an email ID from the client. Then you ask the client whether you want the reminders to be sent only for contests or only for hackathons or both. And accordingly, the emails will be sent. So now talking about like a broader view of this project, the project contains three components. First one is the API fetching, which we are going to do for Codeforces. The second part is the web scraping, from which we'll get the hackathon data from DevFolio. And the third part will be the email sending. Okay. Now that you'll have a brief glimpse of what the project is about, let us move on to the setting up of the project.
Let's start by setting up the project. We will use Python for this project, so we need to install Python on our computer. If you are using a Mac or Linux, Python is pre-installed, so you can proceed without any hassle. For Windows users, there's a download link available. You can see here. Just download the .exe file and follow the installation instruction. If you go to the Python official website, that is python.org/downloads, you can see there is a download button available. You just press on that button and a prompt will appear where it's showing where you can save the file. Just save the file and execute that. So moving on to the next step, which is setting up a virtual environment. You can create the virtual environment with a specific command and then use another command to activate it directly within Visual Studio Code. For Linux, to create virtual environment, just type in terminal python -m vnb env and to activate source env/bin/activate. This env is the name of the environment that you are giving here. For Windows, virtual env and the environment that you want to give. For this, I am using env. And to activate that, write this command venvironment scripts activate. For Mac OS, I'm going to show what is for the Mac OS. So let's get back to our terminal. Make a new project mkdir in 2023. So let's get back to Mac and open it in our VS Code. So you can see that we have opened a file in our VS Code. Now let's open up a terminal here and set up a virtual environment. And now let's see the command. That is python 3 -m vnb and to activate this source /env/bin/activate. Okay, so now let's type here python 3 -m vnb. Okay, so you can see now our environment is created. So let us activate it. So you can see that our environment is activated. If I seeing this prompt, that means your environment is activated. So in addition to the virtual environment, we require some additional files to organize our project, which is .env. So this file is used to store sensitive information such as API tokens and passwords. It's where you keep all your private data. Remember not to push this file to GitHub. Okay, so let's write a comment here. This file is to store all the sensitive information. So moving to the next file, that is .env.example. So since we don't share the .env file on GitHub, we create an example version of it to make it more understandable for other developers. So I guess let's move to the next, that is okay, requirements.txt. So this file is used to list all the packages and libraries required for the project. So let's make a comment here. This file used to list all the libraries and packages for this project. And the last file that we need is .gitignore. So to keep large folders like the virtual environment and private files like .env from being uploaded to GitHub, we create and configure this file to specify what should be excluded from the public repository. So let's put up a comment here. This file is to specify which files or folders need to be excluded from public repository. I guess I'm right with the spelling. Okay, I've made a small mistake here. Repository. Okay, cool. So we have finished our initial setup of the project, that is creating an environment, creating a .env file, creating a .env.example file, and creating gitignore and requirements.txt. So let's move on to the next phase of our project.
So now that you all have Python in your systems and you all have done the project setup, let us begin with the actual implementation of the project. As I said, the first part of the project is API fetching, the Codeforces API we're going to fetch. So, what is an API? An API is like a bridge that lets different computer programs talk to each other and share information. Okay, I'll show you all one analogy. Yeah. So, think of an API as a waiter in the restaurant. You sit at the table and tell the waiter what you want to eat. The waiter takes your order to the kitchen. The chef prepares your order, and then the waiter brings the food back to your table. So in our project, our API, our Codeforces API is the waiter. We, the clients, are the customer sitting at the table. So we'll ask our Codeforces API to get us maybe say contest name and contest duration. Okay. The Codeforces API will go to Codeforces. It will take that data and will return that data to the client, that is us, as a response. I hope you all got the basic idea of what an API is and how this API fetching is going to work. Okay. Now to use APIs, you need an API key. API keys are like digital passwords that allow access to specific online services and data. They are used to ensure security and control over who can use the API. Now, not all APIs available on the internet are free. Codeforce's API, however, is free, but there are many other APIs on the internet that aren't free. So let us see how to generate this API key. So first I'll go to the Codeforces platform. So here on this nav bar, you all can see the API tab. Okay. Now on the right side, you all can see the methods that this API contains. What we want in the longer run is to send the contest reminders. Now, what all things you're going to be needing is the contest list, right? The contest list containing the contest name, the duration, the start time, etc. So I have to work with this specific method, contest.list. So I'll click on that and this is where I come. Okay. Now this method can return multiple types of things. For example, it can return ID, it can return the name of the contest, it can return the type and duration and start time and other things. Okay, so these are the different fields that this method contains. So now let us see how to generate the API key. Okay, now that you'll have had a look of what things you want from the API, let us generate the key. So let us go to the introduction page. Now here in the authorization, you all can see API key must be generated on this page. Okay. First, make sure that you all are logged in. Okay, so here I'm logged in. Okay. Now, as you all can see, I have no API key created as of now. Okay, I have no API key here. All the generated API keys will appear here. Okay, so I'll create a new API key. Suppose I give a name to my API key, Siddhi underscore API, and I'll give my password of my profile. Okay, generate. So as you can see, a new API key generated, key and the secret code. Okay. To see the API key again, you can see this white notepad like thing here. You click here, you type your password, and you can see the key. Okay. Now since I'm going to start working, I'm going to activate it. Okay. Next, we are going to create the Codeforces Python file, codeforces.py. Here I'm going to be writing my main code for the API fetching. Okay. So now we'll see how to make use of the Codeforces API. I'm creating a variable API token. Okay. Here I'll add the API key that we generated. So this was the key that we had generated. I'll just copy it and I'll paste it here. Okay. Now remember, as I said, this API key is supposed to be personal. Don't share it. It is supposed to be kept to yourself. It is like a digital password for an API. Okay. Now this is another variable that I'll be creating. Here I'm going to add the URL from where I want the data to be taken. Okay. Okay. So here in this documentation, as you all can see, to access data, you just send an HTTP request to address this with method specific parameters. Okay. So I'll just copy this. And remember what is the method name that I want data from? It is contest list. Okay. Contest.list. So I'll paste this here and I'll replace method name with contest.list. So I have the two main things that we are going to be requiring, right? Now I'll create the headers. Headers in Python are like special notes that you attach while sending a request to a website. Okay. These notes can include your name, they can include a secret code to access certain parts of the website. Okay, so I'll say content type. Sorry, this T has to be capital, right? Okay, so the content type instruction tells the service that you're sending data in a specific format. Okay, next we are going to use authorization. Now, the authorization instruction is like showing your secret access card. It tells the service that you're allowed to do certain things because you have a special bearer token. Okay, a special bearer token or a secret code that proves your identity. So let us add our bearer token here. Okay. Now, for those who are wondering what this F here is, I'll just add a comment for you all. Okay. So F lets you insert the variable into the string directly. You all can also use concatenation for this purpose, but for better readability, I have used this F keyword. Okay. Now, since we have our API URL base and our headers ready, we are ready to make request to the server. So the first step that you all do is import the requests library. Now, what is this requests library? This is a tool that simplifies making HTTP requests to interact with the web services and retrieve data from the internet. Okay, so I'm storing my response in this response variable. I'll say requests dot get API URL base. Then I'll pass the headers as well. Okay, now that we have received our response, we are going to be checking the status code of this response. Okay, now what is a status code? Okay, so a status code is a three-digit number that is returned by the web server in response to an HTTP request. Okay, it provides information about the outcome of the request and the current state of the server. Some of the common HTTP request status codes are given here: 200, 404, and 500. So 200 means okay, that is the request was successful and the server is sending the requested data. The second one is 404, not found. The request resource could not be found only on the server. The last one we'll talk about is the internal server error 500 code. This means that there was an issue on the server side while processing the request. Okay, so these status codes are crucial for understanding whether a request was successful, it encountered an error, or does it need further action. So, okay, so let's try running this code. Okay, So Python 3 codeforces.py. No module name requests. Okay, so you all also have to install the requests. Okay, so I'll say, okay. So as you can see, success is being printed here. This means the status code of response is 200, which means okay, that the data is being retrieved without any problem. Now what we're going to do is convert the response into JSON format and store it in the variable data dot JSON. Okay, let's see what is being stored in data. Okay, so as you can see, all the contest fields, all the contest data is being stored in this variable. The contest ID, the name of the contest, etc. You all can see all the fields here. Okay. Now this data can also be found on their website in the documentation here. The reason why we are trying to find out the format of data is because we want to extract information from there, right? So you need to know what kind of things are being stored in data and in what format. So this is basically a dictionary. These are the keys, status and result are the keys, and OK is the value of the status key, and this remaining thing is the value of the result key. So let's try printing our keys here. This should give the output of status and result. Okay, so these are my keys. Now I want to access the value of corresponding to the status key. Okay, so I'll say print data status. This will give me the value corresponding to the status key, and it should print OK in this case. Okay, you can see here also the value corresponding to our status was OK. Okay, so now what we are going to do is put an if check. Okay, so I'll say if data status equal to OK, then I'll come here. Okay, else okay. Now what I'm going to do is gather all this data, all these fields. You can see here, right? ID, name, etc. So what I want to do is make use of all these fields to extract data. Okay. So I'll say contests equal to data result. Okay. Now you all think what is going to be stored in contests? Obviously the value corresponding to the result key in data, right? Now all these fields are available in the documentation. You can see here. Okay, so basically, yes, so these are all the fields that are available to you, that you all can access, that you all can extract. ID, name, type, phase, duration, seconds, start time, seconds, difficulty, all these things. Okay, So I'm going to use a for loop, okay, to iterate through all the contests so I can extract all of the data, okay. So I'll say for contest in contests print contests. I just want the name, okay. I'll just print the name. Let's see, let's run the code once and see. Okay, as you all can see, all the names of the contests are being printed here. Okay. Similarly, if you want, say, I want the phases, okay, whether the that coding contest is done or it is, you know, yet to happen, I can use phase. So I'll say phase. Okay. Let's run the code again. See, these are all the finished contests. Okay. Now what we are going to do is store all these information about the contests in arrays. Okay. So let us first create the empty arrays here. For sending reminders of the event, I'll need the name of the event. I'll need the phases. Why I'll need the phases is because to check whether the contest is done or it is yet to happen. You don't want to send reminders for the done contests, right? You want to send reminders for the upcoming contests. So phases, dates, durations. So I'll add a comment here, empty arrays declarations. Okay. Now in my for loop, instead of printing them, I'm going to append these values to their respective arrays. Okay. Say suppose I'll say name equal to contest name. Okay. Then the phase, I'll say contest phase. Then I'll say duration equal to contest duration seconds. How I'm writing this duration seconds in phase and name, all this is from here. Okay. I want the duration seconds, so I took it here. Okay. I also want the start time seconds, so I can take that as well. So I say start timestamp equal to okay. Now I have stored these things in these variables. Now I'm going to append these variables to my arrays. I'll say names dot append name phases dot append the phase dates dot append. Okay, haven't I taken the date? Okay, I haven't still taken the date, so let's comment this out. Then durations dot append dur. Okay.
So let's run the code and check what we are getting the output. So to check the output, I will add one print statement here. So let prints on names array and python code for set. So here you can see that we are getting all the contests, but we don't need this much. We need only the upcoming contests for our scheduling. So to get that, we will put one check here. So let's write our logic here. For this, we will write contest, and in contest we will check phase is before and contest type is CF, that means code forces. Then do this. So if the contest phase is before, that means the contest has not started yet. So that means the contest is upcoming. So now check what we are getting. So you can see only we are getting the upcoming contest. So to cross check it, you can see that it is the upcoming code turn round 7 division 1 plus 2 rated prices before start 2 weeks. Okay, so as you know, we don't want to expose this API key publicly, so we will store this in environment variables. So we will copy and paste this API key in our .env file. Then we will see how we can use it. So to use this now, at first let us store here. So let's name this as API underscore token, and now let us paste our API token here. Okay, so now we have pasted our API token in .env file, so that is in our environment variable. So to access the environment variable in our project, we use a package named python decouple. You can use any other package for the same. So to use this package, let us install it first. Pip install python decouple. As you can see, it's already installed. This is successfully installed. Okay, now let us import here, that is from decouple import config. Okay, so now we just need to write here config, and at this need to put the variable name that we have given here. This is the variable name. Okay, so now let us see if the file is running or not. So done. So you can see that now our API token is accessed from here, and we are getting the output. Now for the first day, it's up to this. We have did the project setup and API fetching. Tomorrow we'll see the web scraping and mailer part. Thank you for watching. We will meet again tomorrow at the same time. Till then, may the source be with you.